the Pundit podcast. I'm joined with my friend and co-host Simon Canton. Hi, Simon. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. Absolutely excellent. We're on iTunes now, folks. So go find us on iTunes and subscribe, or alternatively, watch these videos. We're back again. Yeah, exactly. We're back again for more new nerd trivia, entertainment news, and hopefully keeping something a bit current. We're going to talk about a few shows that are sort of just hit the internets or the cable TV shows and stuff we're watching at the moment. Simon, we're going to talk about, we've talked about this before. Before we talk about shows, we're going to talk about what I think has been a week or 2 weeks of interesting trailers. So normally we talk about shows, but I want to talk to you about trailers. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen some interesting trailers for some big films coming up. We've talked about Spectre before on this show, but last weekend was the Star Wars Celebrations convention. The whole weekend was spent in the US talking about Star Wars. And part of that was J.J. Abrams getting out on stage and talking about the upcoming film in December, The Force Awakens, introducing some of the cast members, introducing, and I want to ask you if you saw anything about this, some of the effects, special effects, obviously teasing a new trailer. And so did you get a chance to see the convention, just leaving aside the trailer for a while, or did you get caught up in any of the conversation on Twitter or anything like that, or was it a very busy week for you? Did you see anything at all? Did you know it was? I didn't know it was happening until it happened, really.
It's the first I'd heard of this convention was when you just said it two seconds ago.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, it's really, I have to say, like, they didn't know, because I think it's great for people. I think that's right. A lot of people didn't hear about it. And I certainly knew coming into that weekend that there was a trailer being launched. And in a way, I think we can all agree, I'm sure you're interested in your views, that, okay, we all, from a particular generation, our generation, maybe we have sort of rose-tinted glasses about episode 4, 5, and 6 of the Star Wars trilogy. And maybe we're the cynical bastards who absolutely piss on episodes 1, 2, and 3. And maybe if we were younger, maybe your kids love episode 1, 2, and 3, and that they find that far more interesting than 4, 5, and 6. I really would love to go back to a time, without that sort of cynicism. Maybe that would change. Or maybe if episode 1, 2, and 3 were launched in the 80s, the lack of cynicism would have meant that we would have enjoyed CGI Jar Jar. I don't know.
I'm just going to look up the release date of Phantom Menace. So my kids would have been kids, and now they're teenagers.
Yeah.
When Phantom Menace came out, I'm just wondering how old they would have been. So 99, so they were 1. So they would have only seen Phantom Menace probably on DVD or whatever.
Sure.
They think it's a load of crap. The first 3 movies, the 1, 2, and 3.
Not redeeming at all.
So the pod race is quite fun, and the bit where Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson fight the Darth Maul. That's quite fun in the first movie, and then I can't even think of something that's fun in the second and third movies.
Second is more like almost a sort of detective story. It's a lot darker and a little bit more ponderous and whatever. I mean, I've said before, I don't think you can take that universe and throw it out. It's stories, you're entitled to like them or not. But I don't think they're quite as bad as, let's say, the internet would believe they were. I think they probably don't capture the magic of the other films, but the other films are classics,
Well, the other films were
classics of the time.
Like, looking back on it, on everything. So, the Clone Wars. I don't know if you watched Clone Wars TV show.
I've seen episodes of it. Yeah.
Like, that's very watchable. So it's not.
Right. People like that show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very watchable. Like, I've watched episodes. I haven't watched from start to finish, but I've watched, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 episodes of it.
And that's
so it's not
the point you're making, which is it's not that the universe is crap because this is good. It's just the films didn't do it well.
It's not that I'm an adult and I'm cynical about it, because I can watch the Clone Wars and go, "Oh, that's pretty good."
Sure.
Like, it's maybe too childish for me, but it's still good. Whereas the prequels are terrible. Like, the first one is maybe a if you're being generous, a 2.5-star movie, and after that they just go downhill. Like
Yeah.
I saw a great quote on Twitter. Someone said, "The shortest cheer in cinema history, from when the Star Wars comes up in the Phantom Menace to tax delegations, have been going between trade routes in the." Like, what was he thinking? George Lucas just lost the plot completely.
I genuinely don't think they're as bad as people say. And actually, as it so happens, he was absolutely right to predict in 1999 that things about the economy and tax and all these sort of things were going to be the next big crisis. He was absolutely correct, because
but Star Wars is not about what's going to happen in the economy.
No, but I think there was something allegorical about what he was trying to say in that movie, and maybe it probably was.
If he was trying to be allegorical, he failed miserably. Like, there are people who have done that very successfully, and he's not one of them.
Right.
But that's not to say
the first movie. But I think what we can all agree on is, whilst there may be some people who don't hate it quite as much, there may even be a young generation that actually like those films. I think I agree with you. The Clone Wars cartoons are quite popular. That's the same universe. It's the same characters with, Anakin, aka kind of Hayden Christensen type of Anakin, right? Actually work quite well. I think I've seen the odd episode here and there. And indeed, I think this is Star Wars Rebels, which I haven't watched. I think I saw half of an episode. And again, people really like that. So maybe, the universe is fine. It's just the film's execution was just awful. And there are parts about that series, that the prequel series, the prequels, don't get me wrong, I entirely think are just awful. I mean, particularly the wooing of of Padme by Anakin, whether that's in episode 2 and 3, is just disastrously bad. I mean, it's you'd find better wordsmithing in a pornography. You know what I mean? Like that's just it's just some of it is just awful. But in any event, moving on from that, I suppose the reason I bring those up is, in some respects, it very much dampened people's ideas of what was possible. And therefore, I think when people said, okay, we're going to do episode 7, 8, and 9, I think people were a bit like, oh, God, Now, they were probably excited that J.J. Abrams was attached,
Yeah, but that said, so the first Star Trek movie that he did, he directed both of them, didn't he? The new ones?
I'm not sure about the second. He definitely was attached. Maybe he did.
But the first one, at least, I enjoyed. I thought it was great.
This is right.
Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm just looking. Yeah, he directed that as well. The second one I didn't particularly enjoy. I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a very good movie either.
Yeah, I think that's right. I agree with that.
Like, it's, okay.
It's
okay,
fine. It's a perfectly fine movie. And, like, let's not rewrite history. Not every Star Trek movie was great. It was great because
they were in it. That's the thing. All the odd movies are crap, and the even movies are good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or is it vice versa? No, Khan was 2 and Voyage Home was 4. So yeah, the even ones are good. Yeah, geez, you remember the number 5? What was that called again? Where I feel your pain, show me your pain, it runs deep. That guy.
Oh God, yeah. Was that the one where they end up, spoilers, like finding God or something like that?
They find God and then do a psychoanalysis on God. Oh my God, that was a terrible movie.
It's funny, it was 6 was was brilliant. I thought. I mean, I still think
that was great fun. Where Kirk is accused in the Klingon homeworld of war crimes and gets sent to prison. That was great.
Absolutely great movie. No, but I mean, I suppose there was worry about that. But anyway, this Star Wars Celebration came on. They had huge panels. They had panels with Carrie Fisher, with her dog. I think she randomly snogged, like literally snogged, some member of the audience, and the Twitter sphere went wild. And they had robot R2D2 going onto the stage, robotically with no wires or CGI. And then there's this new robot that's obviously going to be in episode 7, BB22 or something like that, who literally rolled onto the round. You've seen it in the trailer with this sort of ball with the ball on top. Literally,
that thing, yeah.
Yeah, literally. That is not CGI. that is a robot that literally wheeled itself on, was, you know, onto a stage with nobody around helping it or pushing it or just, you know, whatever. It just rolled itself on, went dee 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 dee, you know, and people were like, hold on, what the hell? And, you know, kind of, and made its way out. When they finished, he went out with the rest of the actors, you know. Peter Mayhew was there, Mark Hamill was there, Carrie Fisher, obviously Harrison Ford's still recovering from his plane crash. You know, J.J. Abrams was there, Kathleen Kennedy, who's one of the producers, or the big producer there. So Disney put out a big thing, and they did 3 days of it. And I suppose the capper on that is anyone watching this, it's all available for free on YouTube. Like, they're literally 8 to 10 hour streams. It's all there for you. It's you know.
I don't know who would watch that, but there you go.
Well, I mean, it's
maybe someone who sits through cricket matches might have the patience.
Well, I mean, like, people listen to. I listen to a Giant Bomb podcast every Tuesday, 3 hours every week. Like, you know, you know, put it on the background on your media player box, whatever. But there's some amazing stuff. You can fast forward to stuff you like. There's just an amazing amount of stuff that goes on if you're into that world, and it really kind of. It was a lot of fan service, like, you know, which hasn't been done. I mean, you and I've never been to any of those conventions. They don't really happen in our part of the world. But
well, that is the danger with the prequels, though. Fan service. Here's C-3PO. Here's R2-D2. They don't notice the fact that later on they don't know Darth Vader, even though they know Darth Vader in the prequels and so on. But, like, it was too much fan service in the prequels, kind of. I
think that's right, and I think the only advantage for them is they're clearly going in a slightly different direction with different characters, albeit there's going to be some retained. So obviously, Luke Skywalker has a big part to play in this movie, from what we can tell from the trailer.
Like,
anyway,
yeah.
You saw the trailer, I presume.
Saw the trailer, yeah. Thought it was okay.
And is that it? I mean, I watched the trailer and I was amped. I mean, like, I was like, yes. This is amazing. I mean, like I've just been too burned by the prequels. Like, there's no way I would go to this opening weekend. I want to see reviews first, and I want the reviews to say this is the best. This is kick-ass. It's the best since the 1970s. Because I'm reviewing it already. If 5 stars from me, there you go. I'm a reviewer you can trust. I can even review it without even seeing it.
Okie dokie. We'll see how good. You just said the prequels weren't that bad, so I'm not going to trust your review.
I mean, like, I'm not your reviewer. There's no doubt about that. No, look, I agree with you. In terms of to be cautious, I still think I'm going to see this movie as soon as I possibly can. Because
do you think
it's a continuation of something, you know, we've been with through our entire lives? No matter what, you have to watch it, and so why not watch it? When
do you
it comes
think
out.
It's going to be sold out, though, opening weekend? Or do you think people will be burned after the prequels and go, no, I think I'll wait and see?
I think people should realize that until Avatar came along, I mean, Phantom Menace still was the leading box office, like broke box office records.
That's not an indicator. You could...
Well, no, but I mean, just you're asking me whether people are going to go. Now, what you're going to say is, well, yeah, the Phantom Menace did well because no one had seen the Phantom Menace yet. Did episodes 2 and 3 do so well? No, probably not, you know.
And also, box office is no indicator. The highest selling grossing movie last year was Fast and the Furious 7. Now, with Fast and the Furious 7 is an okay action movie.
Well, this year, it's just got to $1 billion, I think, after 2 weeks.
Oh, is it this year? Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's right. Yeah, was it Fast and Furious 6 then? Maybe that was.
It could well have been last year.
It was Transformers last year, and Fast and the Furious is going to take it this year. So, like, it's not like good movie is
totally
equal
of course
to the box office.
Absolutely not. I believe that this will break Avatar's record. So, I mean, that's a side bet here now. I think J.J. Abrams can deliver on the hype, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see if it's a good movie. There's something about this that felt very nostalgic for me. It felt very like the originals. But then again, maybe I felt that way about the prequel, because I certainly remember the trailers for Phantom Menace, and I thought, like, whoa, this is amazing. The music alone was amazing. You know, the old Darth Maul seemed like an amazing character, you know?
But yeah, absolutely. If you watch the trailer for Phantom Menace and you had never seen it, you go, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I love Star Wars. This is going to be great. You can edit a trailer, like especially Disney will have the best trailer editors in the business working on their major property they just bought for however many billions.
You're totally right. I have to say though, you're quite rightly. You're like, look, I've been burned before. I'm not this way. I definitely fell into the hype. I really enjoyed the trailer. Anyone's there. There's elements of nostalgia I like. He's going back to practical effects. And so,
like
but you are right. Look, trailers can be cut anyway. Although I'm actually staying away from the Terminator trailers because actually,
that's great.
But yeah, I haven't seen
the entire movie.
Stop because I saw the first.
Tell you anything? I'll just say, it's the entire movie compressed into 90 seconds.
People
you get everything spoiled.
Trailer. They are going crazy with that trailer. They are just like saying this trailer is the worst. This makes me not want to watch the movie I wanted to watch.
Oh, I want to watch it anyway, though.
Yes,
like they've given away every twist, they've given away everything. But like I watch every Terminator thing that comes out eventually.
It's almost like it's never going to be that amazing that you're going to not see the twist anyway. So who cares? And maybe they're giving us maybe they're totally bluffing us somehow, and they're going to.
I would love that. If they'd put twists into the trailer that didn't exist in the movie, that would be so awesome.
That would be fucking awesome, and it would be a real fuck you to internet. And in fact, actually, all movies should do that. They should specifically fuck around with the trailer stuff. They do it like we saw that Spectre trailer, right? And you know the way like they make trailers for games now, like, and it's only on PC and it's only like pre-production. They might as well have a little thing in the corner saying, "Will never, in fact, be gameplay footage." You know what I mean? I mean, they should do that with films nowadays, you know?
Yeah, I mean, on the gameplay thing, I mean, did you see the Star Wars Battlefront trailer for the new game?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good segue into that. I did, all in-engine, they said. Yeah, in-engine from a point of view that no one will ever play from, you know?
Well, in-engine, as in, like, you know, they have a PC that's... They probably have 20 PCs running in conjunction with each other.
PC that runs the mainframe in the CIA and the Pentagon. Yeah, we have 4 of them locked together, and it's running this thing. At
1 frame a second, because they don't have to. That doesn't have to be in real time rendering. That could be 1 frame every hour that comes out.
No. I mean, to be fair, it's EA, so I mean, like, you know,
everything EA does is you should be skeptical of.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I genuinely do believe this, though. Like, I play on console, but I do believe that when the game releases, if you've got a Titan or a 2 Titan PC with a 4K graphics card, obviously you won't be playing from those perspectives, like they've kind of directed the shots to a degree. But I do think you'll probably get what they've shown in substance on a 4K PC with 2 Titans going there. You know, you
could if they didn't disable it. I mean, EA has done that in the past. They disabled the higher resolutions because they know the consoles get jealous and angry at them.
Whether they deliberately disable it like they did with Watch Dogs, which is weird because that, like, you kind of think if a modder who hasn't even built this game can so easily mod your game to make it run properly, you have to think to yourself. But even if they don't mod it, like even if they don't hack it at the knees deliberately, it's intellectually dishonest for EA to actually sell to the PC market if they're going to basically not invest the money to make it as good as it probably should be. If a modder can come in and literally within a few weeks just go boom, 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 here's the full textures, that's just intellectually just dishonest. And saying stuff like, oh yeah, but that fucking the game works that way, but it might crash. Fuck, your games crash fucking anyway. Like Battlefield, the Battlefield kind of army game, whatever it's called, Battlefront, or whatever, Battlefront, right? That didn't work online properly for a whole year before they started that service, so that's just nothing to it. But anyway, I think it probably will do okay. But one of the problems is if they were really using all the power of the PC, you'd have a situation where, like, you can't do space battles in this game, they're telling you, right? Although they may come. So you may get a situation where you're on land, you can obviously use speeders on land, you can use some other kind of flying thing on land, and then you can use X-wings in planet, right? And in the end, they said there may be then an add-on, probably they're going to sell you an add-on, so another £60 quid DLC so that you can actually do these X-wings up in space. And even that, and that's still great, even if it is an extra 60 game. Like, look, these guys.
Oh, it's not great. Like, so the whole Activision and EA are as bad as each other because their focus now is not on making the best possible game for $60. It's okay, what's the least we can put into the game at launch so people will spend $60 so we can put all the extra stuff out for another $60 and another $60 and so on.
I agree with that, but I think that may be an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, Battlefield, they've taken away numbers. And although look, we're going down the games are cheaper than they've ever been before in terms of inflation, right? And it's political. They just don't want to say, look, screw you guys. These games should be 150 a go, right? And if you bought them for 150 quid, I mean, I'm taking that figure out of the sky. If you bought them for 150 quid, you're getting everything, right? And there'll be no DLC, whatever. Now what's happening is they're paying 60 and they're trying to get the other 60 off you some other way. And 50% of people won't, and other 50% of people will. So they're going, well, 50, maybe more.
So how many people played games back in the early 90s when it was $60 then, and how many people play games now? Because there's a scalability thing. Yeah. As well, everything is downloadable. There's no physical things you need to print out. People just go to the store and buy it on their computers or consoles.
I think that's absolutely right. And there's a bigger market, but there's also a bigger market for cinema now than there ever was before. And prices for them have gone up significantly since we were buying cinema tickets. Now, you might say that's piracy. Piracy is a huge problem.
It's not just piracy. In a cinema, you need to have people standing there taking the tickets and people working the projectors and people at the whatever. That has to inflate because it's actual people standing there. A game, you don't need someone standing in the online store.
Inflation games, that's a problem. You're talking about games that cost 500,000. Okay, a lot of that's marketing nowadays, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it's like devs and stuff. But leaving that issue aside, I wonder if Battlefield and a lot of other games will just be like, no more 1, 2, and 3. This is your game, and you can just play that game forever. And we're never going to do a sequel, but we're going to continue to build on this. So like season 1, season 2. And that's not I don't think that's an unfair model, because if you like the game, which is the full game in year 1, right? If you like the game, you're going to buy season 2, right? Why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah, but it depends what kind of game you're talking about, because
the problem is it prevents. What I don't like is like FIFA, like look at FIFA or even American. I don't buy them, but American football sports game. What's like FIFA 1 and FIFA 2? What's the difference? Oh, it's a bit shinier and a bit whatever. There's a game where if they made you pay 60 quid or even 80 quid for a game, FIFA, on the promise that, look, next year we're going to make you pay 15 quid to get the updated whatever, but and as long as you keep paying 15 quid until you stop playing games, you're going to have the latest thing. But making people buy FIFA 13 for 60 quid and then FIFA 14 for 60 quid within 12 months for a game that is like very little difference, that I object to.
Some games as well become worse, the newer versions. Like they overcomplicate it because they have to put something in.
Or they improve the graphics and all of a sudden it's really the frame rate fucks up and you're like, well, it looks more like David Beckham, but now I can't move the fucking character. Yeah, totally,
Or like racing games are the same. You could have a racing game from 10 years ago and it'll be just as much fun as a racing game today. The graphics won't be as good, but when you're playing the racing game, you barely notice the graphics. You're and whatever.
Totally. But I mean, look, I don't know. What I would love, and I'll just say this, I mean, it won't happen in this game, is if you had a situation where you could, a bit like what they're planning on No Man's Sky, that you could literally go an X-Wing on planet, into the sky, into a space battle. With no loading, just like literally come in, come down. Now, it would require a lot of balancing because you'd have these huge Death Destroyers, and if they could just simply come down onto a planet and fucking,
Well, they wouldn't be built to come onto the planet.
Well, kind of go into the atmosphere and just fire lasers into, into all these troops in the ground. Like, how would you balance that out,
Well, quite simply, from writing books, I know with, big space things, they're not built to go into atmosphere. And if they do, they just break into bits. So you just say,
which is what you see in that trailer, in the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer. You see it crashed. Yeah.
If they try and get too close to the planet, the gravity just breaks.
Certainly, from an X-wing point of view, it would be amazing to just literally be able to fly on the planet, fire off some rockets and lasers, do your ATT bombing, and then literally just fly all the way up into a space battle. You're going to on No Man's Sky, which is a different game, which probably is less fighting and more exploration. That seems to be the way they're doing their game. But it would be amazing to do that in a Star Wars game. It would just be.
I mean, you could potentially do it in a single player game, I think. But in like a Battlefield kind of thing where you're online, I don't know, 128 people on the server, or if you're on a console, like 32 or whatever it is.
Outer space coming down in, it'd be crazy. But I mean, it's going to happen one day.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to move on from, let's call that. I wouldn't say that Star Wars is a superhero movie, but moving on to something that I know you've watched a bit of. I've watched all of it. We're only going to talk about the first couple of episodes. Daredevil on Netflix. I know we didn't have a podcast last week. That was my fault. And we talked about it before, the sort of expectation of this new show. I kind of totally binge watched it over 2 or 3 days. Really, really liked the show. Love the fact that, time was given in the show for characters to develop certain scenes, which, in another show, you just wouldn't get people, sitting, with loads of exposition in a car talking about stuff. It would just be something else. How are you, Daredevil? Obviously a film with Ben Affleck, now a very successful and just renewed for season 2 series with Marvel and Netflix. Are you enjoying the show? You got through 2 episodes. What are your initial thoughts?
So the first episode, Heidi and I watched the first episode, I don't know, a week ago or something, after everyone was going on and on and on about it.
Sure.
And we weren't particularly impressed.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of talking and there was 1 fight scene, maybe 2. And it kind of, so I was we had to kind of push ourselves to watch the second episode because people were still going on and on about how great it was. The second episode was a vast improvement over the first one. It reminds me a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of thing. Like you got one person who's the fighter person, and then you got the support quirky characters with like
Nelson.
You can spot instantly who's going to be a regular in the series because you're just going, oh yeah, she's from True Blood. I recognize her. She's going to be in it some more. And yeah, so you kind of spot the people who are going to be regulars pretty quickly. But
sure, but that's an issue. Well, you say that, but that's an issue that all TV shows have.
It's not a major criticism by any means. I'm just saying that the ones that are going to be part of the Scooby Gang, basically, of Daredevil, you can kind of see them moving into positions in the Scooby Gang.
It's very interesting, though. I mean, look, I think the best thing to say to you is you've got to keep watching. There's a number of characters who you haven't even seen yet, and there's some powerful performances, right around the corner. It's amazing performances by people you'll recognize and know, and it's a great show. I mean, like, you're a Netflix subscriber, so am I. This is just, not every show is going to be for everyone, but this is another thing where you say, wow, I'm paying my £5 a month, £6 a month, £7 a month. If this is for me, then this is just another reason why I'm going to keep subscribing. It's here for me. Whatever, I can binge it at a weekend. I can watch episode 3 when yourself and Heidi are into it. The fight scenes, have been getting a lot of praise. I mean, I'm not that bothered about that. I do think it's quite good. I mean, it's very realistic, this type of stuff. Some of
it was a great one in episode 2 in the hallway. I don't know if you remember. Where he's going against mobsters in the hallway.
That's really the one without I think it's almost like a single shot, or
it was really good.
Yeah,
compared to the first one was just a bog standard kind of TV pilot. So I wasn't particularly impressed, but hopefully, from what everyone says, it's really great. So it did improve a lot in episode 2.
I think what's interesting, I think the interesting thing is that, it's not just your. I mean, I'd be interested as we go along for you to, if you know, to see. Oh yeah, you know, does it get better for you? Does it get, you know, or do you say no? Really, I'm not sure what all the fuss is about, and that's totally fair. I think one thing I'll say without spoiling anything is, you know, we've all read comics, and actually a lot of comics have similar origin stories and similar kind of theories, which is the damsel in distress, or the the origin story of the parents getting killed for Batman. You know, obviously spoilers, no spoilers for that. But there's a few things like that which you might go, yeah, well, I know where that's going, and it doesn't always go that way, or it's not quite as what you seem. So that's something to look forward to. I will say this: Charlie Cox is a British actor. He's doing well with his American accent, or neutral American accent. He obviously was in Stardust too. That kind of cool British.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that was quite a good movie, actually.
Yeah, that was written by Jonathan Ross's wife, isn't that right? And you know, good film that was. Stardust, you know, nice whimsical kind of film. He was in that. Haven't seen him much. He's been in other things, and I think other TV shows, but haven't seen much of that. I think he, you know, you can you don't imagine he's an English guy. He's actually kind of, he loses that as well. He's not trying to be flashy or all kind of sexy poses or any of that sort of stuff that you sometimes get like with superhero things or everything like that. It's quite, you know, it's Hell's Kitchen, and it's produced that way. It's still being, you know, one thing of note is it's still in the Marvel universe, in that they talk about this incident, and you know, and
yeah, I didn't really like that, but anyway.
Yeah, because initially, you know, yeah, well, yeah, but I mean,
although, like, okay, fine, give it a rest. Seriously, you want everything being interconnected.
All the aliens have come out of this incident in New York after Avengers Assemble or whatever. But a friend of mine just saw Ultron last night. I haven't seen it. No comment. We'll see. And yeah, as I said, there's a lot of different characters for you to still meet. I think. In particular, I think there's a lot of things you haven't even, it hasn't really started yet for you. And actually, there's a lot of acting that I think you'll go, God, that guy, I don't know who that guy is, but he was great. And a lot of people, you'll be saying, I know who that guy is, and that's a really solid performance. And
like, the reason, I mean, I probably would have binge watched it faster. It's just there's so much stuff on.
Like, oh, no, totally.
Everything comes out in April. I can't, it's a desert for like 8 months of the year, and then just everything good is in 4 months, just coming up to the summer.
Totally, but it's even going to get worse. I mean, to be honest, Simon, I wouldn't even be apologizing for it. I think it's a really good series. I think if you get into it, it's well worth watching it, even if it doesn't become a series you really want to follow. I think it's well worth having watched it. And the truth is, binging it is fine. I had a weekend where I just binged it for whatever reason. But the truth is, that just means I have to wait almost an entire year for the thing to come back in 2016. And that's kind of hard. Because when I binged House of Cards, it was really quite difficult, because you come in season 2 and you literally, it's not like, oh, you know, you watched it from January to September and then it came back in January. And you're going, oh, I had 3 months off. I kind of remember what happened, right? Here's a situation where you get it in, you know, May, and you watch it in May or April, and you watch it in April, and it's not coming back for 12 months. So, like, you've no 3 months gap. It's actually quite difficult in that regard. You
know, people are like, I was talking to someone and they were saying they do the same as they do with a lot of people do with book series. So a lot of people won't start a book series, reading a book series, even if they hear it's good, until the last one in the series is out, because they don't want to have to wait for years and years and years to read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And people are now doing that with TV shows. Someone said about Breaking Bad that they heard Breaking Bad was excellent, so they waited until it was finished before they started watching the first season.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's interesting about Breaking Bad, because I definitely came to it late, is that I'm not even sure that was that deliberate kind of, they waited for all of it. But I definitely think it was a very popular show that got a lot of critical acclaim. But actually, not everybody watched it. But at the beginning, everyone didn't watch it. I think there was something like, there was some time around season 2 or 3, or even later than that, where everyone was like, you've got to see this. And people.
Oh, that was Netflix again.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, season 1 went on Netflix, and everyone binged it, and then the numbers just rocketed because everyone went, I have to watch this show.
And actually, that's fascinating, and it just so shows how powerful Netflix have gotten, because I think what you had there was a show that was popular and good, and critically acclaimed. But actually, in terms of mass appeal, for whatever reason, because in America, you know, it's difficult. Like, where do you watch it? Is it, do I have this channel? Is it part of my whatever? It's hard enough in the UK or Europe where it's like you've got Sky, but at least it's kind of like the choice is Sky or shite. So basically, most people are on Sky, you know, in UK and Ireland, or they're on UPC, and that's the two decisions. But in America, there's probably like 52 different cable channels and 53 decisions, and therefore there's loads of times where it's like you just can't get that show unless you pay something you don't want to pay for, right? But when it went to Netflix, it's almost like, whoosh, you know, this is a hugely popular thing. Look, huh?
I think Mad Men went the same way.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And some of those shows almost like face cancellation. And it's almost, you know, you kind of think if they've been on a much more vehicle-led, fan-led series, you know, they do much better. Like,
well, if Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles or Firefly had been on Netflix or HBO, they would have run for like 10 seasons. Like,
exactly. So Chuck and shows like that ultimately did kind of last because of fan power. But actually, they would have had no problem whatsoever if they started off in a Netflix type of environment, because the fans alone, to keep the subscribers there, would just, I think, the cachet of certain shows would just mean, well, there's a bunch of people who don't normally subscribe who aren't now subscribing. I mean, Netflix just announced their figures. They're ahead of forecasts. It's fantastic for them. Anyway, enjoy Daredevil. I take it slow. If you're doing that, I would. There's a lot of people, a few people, you know, from, let's just say, kung fu movies of old that you'll see and appreciate.
What, Jackie Chan's in it?
No. But in any event, no. I think it's a good show. I think there's a lot of people you'll want to see, and I'd be interested to see your thoughts when you finish season 1, if you know you get that. Just kind of segueing onto that, another show I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I think I mentioned on the show, which is Grace and Frankie. That's the Jane Fonda, Lee Tomlinson, Martin Sheen, and who else is on that show? It's a comedy coming up. I just found out today in America, and I assume it's going to be similar to Daredevil, launched in Europe at the same date as well. I mean, Netflix don't tend to do any sort of differentiation on their own original shows. So I think Grace and Frankie, there's trailers out on YouTube for anyone who's listening or watching to this. Go check them out. I kind of watched a bit of the trailer and said, I'm in, it's funny, I don't want to hear any more, I don't want the best jokes to be in the trailer. And I definitely think it's going to be a very, and again, there's a new show. You've had your Daredevil for April. Here's a show that's going to start on the 8th of May. So Netflix are trying to have their own original show every month. And if they do that, I mean, I just one kind of thinks, yeah, Sam Waterston is the other actor as well. I'm thinking of just from the newsroom, Martin Sheen, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda. I think this could be a very good show. I think it could be a very good show, and I hope I'm not going to be disappointed.
The trailer, for me at least, didn't like leap out at me. At least I didn't think any of the jokes in it were funny. It was all kind of pleasant kind of comedy. So I will definitely give it a go.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be kind of laugh out loud sort of thing. I think what it's going to be is it's going to be clever. Hopefully, I think that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be.
So too. Like the trailer just seemed like you know, The Good Life or any of those kind of things, like things where it's not hilarious, it's just pleasant to watch.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I reserve judgment on that. I would hope this would just be clever, you know, and there'll be good punchlines. These are good actresses, good at timing, you know.
I mean, Jane Fonda is great. Like, she was amazing in the newsroom. But actors are only as good as the writing, so we'll have to see. Yeah,
and I mean, as I said, there's some actors here who can be crap, can be great, and let's just hope that all four of these, the leads in this, just really pull that back. But also, to be fair to them as well, the writing has to be good. If the writing is awful, it's just, you know, just
the writing, everything in a comedy.
I don't know if you've ever come across this 2015 version of The Odd Couple with I've talked about this before with
yeah, you showed me actually when I was over.
What?
You showed me a bit while I was over.
Yeah, exactly.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it really, the timing in that show is awful. Okay, we're going to move back to big movies. Another trailer that was kind of on this week as well. Batman versus Superman.
So, didn't look good to me. It looked like a terrible movie to me.
I think this is our first time today we've had some serious agreement. I mean, it was like, I have to admit, I thought Man of Steel was appallingly bad. Appallingly bad. And I actually like Ben Affleck.
But I do too, but he's better as a director than an actor.
But the opening shot of Ben Affleck in the series, in this particular trailer, is just like him staring with this serious face, as if somebody shoved a boiling hot poker up his eyes, right? With this kind of mood, you know, the way it's like, it's a bit like that movie, 10 Things I Hate About You. You know, the guy's going for what do you think I look for there? Thoughtful? Oh, I was going for pensive. I mean, it just was so one note, you know, just the introduction to him. And again, Ben Affleck's a good actor. Just, I was like, what are you thinking? I kind of know where they're going to go with this. Like, as a superhero concept, this is going to be, you know, Superman destroyed the city and killed those people. Yeah, that's the terrible thing about Man of Steel. Blame the director and not the superhero. And now Batman is going to be presumably charged to go and save his city. And, you know, swear to me, Superman. And then I assume
Superman is such a terrible superhero. I don't understand the fascination. Like, I liked the Richard Donner movies.
Yeah.
And I liked, as I said on a previous podcast, I quite liked the one with
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh.
Yeah, so
like, I didn't think it was terrible. It wasn't amazing. It was just an okay movie. Like, a pretty
spirit of the Donner films. And actually Spacey was fine doing a Hackman kind of thing.
Yeah. But that was fine. But
I think it's underrated. I think it's a good movie, actually.
Superman as a hero just doesn't work because he's only got one weakness, and that's kryptonite, which means every single movie it's, oh, here's the kryptonite, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, Batman's suit must be laden with kryptonite, because let me tell you this. Batman, he's a man. And Superman would literally just kill him in a second. So how do you balance this out? This is like, it's ridiculous.
In the comic book, I'm not a big comic book guy. But what I understand is that Batman's the smartest. So Superman is almost undefeatable.
Yeah.
Physically, but Batman is way smarter than him. So then, like, he will come up with a strategy. So Superman will do this, and then Batman will do this, and then Superman will do this, and Superman is trapped in a cage of kryptonite or something.
No, but yeah, absolutely. But I presume the actual thing will be, Superman goes, I won't kill this man because he's a good man, right? And therefore I have to take all of the rockets and guns, which he doesn't even do because he's Batman, hurling at me, because the most I could ever do is
kill anyone
in prison. You know what I mean? Like, as in, because I can take it, you know?
Like Batman, I don't know if he did in the Christopher Nolan movies, but in the comic books and everything else, he doesn't kill. That's the whole thing. He never kills anyone, no matter how bad they are. He just imprisons them in Gotham Prison or whatever.
Well, I think in the Nolan movies, I mean, people probably die. The Joker certainly seemed to die at some stage.
No, remember, he saves the Joker.
Does he?
So the Joker's hanging upside down, and he goes, I'm going to get out again, and I'm going to come at you again or whatever. And Batman saves him.
Yeah, so I assume he ends up in Arkham City.
Arkham Asylum, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just again, there's clearly a whole comic thing about this, and anyone who's watching this who's a comic thing is probably absolutely cursing us now. But but I presume that the story goes something like, sworn enemies, fight like crazy, destroy 52 cities while they're fighting, although I don't know how Batman survives this. And then all of a sudden they realize, I've been manipulated. You're a good person all along. You're not an alien in an alien world. And then they'll team up and they'll take out whoever the guy is setting them up against each other is. So I assume that's what I presume that's a guess. It's not a spoiler. That's a guess, and that's the only way it can work. And then they'll play the, national anthem of Gotham City, not America, because let's be a little bit more pan-European.
That's it, though. The trailer, if the trailer comes out, and not the trailer, the movie comes out, and every review says the best Batman and Superman movie in ages, 5 stars, well, then I go see it. Well, I mean, the trailer looked appalling, but that doesn't mean the movie's
I'm going to go see it, but yeah, it does not fill me with any sort of confidence whatsoever. And
it's just too.
I feel bad for Affleck because actually, again, this is just, in my view, again, without having seen it, and of course I'll give it a chance, and I'll go in with that in mind. But I have this fear that Affleck is going to be banded again, like the Bennett for years. I was like, oh yeah, Affleck just can't do this, and he can't be a superhero. And it's like, I don't know. I actually thought Daredevil the movie wasn't as bad as everyone says it was, and I think he could have been good in a good Batman movie. But like, this is kind of like, you're fucked. You're in this pile of shit. That I mean, like, only Henry.
Ben Affleck is one of those actors that just plays Ben Affleck. Like, if you look at Harrison Ford does not have a lot of range. Like, he's very charismatic, but he does not have range. He's just Harrison Ford. He's Harrison Ford in every movie, and Ben Affleck is the same. He's Ben Affleck pretty much in every movie. He's not a bad actor. He's a good actor. It's just that's what he's playing is Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
So
he's been in some good movies. I mean, I'll just say that.
No. I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm not saying he's made a lot of shitty movies or that he's a bad actor. I'm just saying he plays Ben Affleck.
Sure.
Whatever movie you're watching, Ben Affleck is in. It's like if you see Kevin Spacey, as we mentioned, since you mentioned him earlier, like he has amazing range.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Spacey can play, completely polar opposite characters, and you completely buy it. Ben Affleck, no.
Yeah, and that's a lot of his stuff he's done has given a huge amount of range. But I mean, he's played different characters. But yeah, I see. I know what you're saying about that. I feel bad for him. Look, but the movie might be great. The movie.
Don't feel bad. He has hundreds of millions of dollars.
I know what you mean. I mean, I don't think that really matters to him anymore. I mean, like, he's been in successful films. He did a great job with Argo. I think it's a good film. The Town, I think, is unbelievably good film. And there's a number of films I haven't seen of his, and I've always liked him. He's done some terrible movies. Who hasn't? But
that's what I said. Like, I think he's a better director than he is an actor, and that's not saying that he's a bad actor. I'm just saying he's a really good director.
Yeah, I also think, though, I think he's going to get better. A bit like Clooney. Like, if you look at some of the movies Clooney ended up in after his Eeyore stint, they weren't exactly fantastic either. But he's gotten better, and I think that's because he got.
But Clooney wasn't
better, huh?
Clooney didn't have any clout. Like, Ben Affleck is an A-list star, whereas Clooney at the time didn't have any clout. He was in From Dusk Till Dawn and the Batman and whatever. That was the phone calls he was getting. It wasn't like it was, hey, exactly. Here's 50 movies, choose one.
Exactly, and now he has a bit more clout, and and when he got to make the films he wants to make, you can just realize, God, this man has amazing taste, and he does know what he's talking about. I think Affleck is in a situation where, up until recently, I mean, he had a lot of credibility issues, and then he's done some great stuff, and I think he can, he may well get the chance to, do things which, he wasn't offered things that allowed him to range. Maybe he'll get a chance to do that. Then again, he's now got that position, and he took up, Batman. Look, fair play to him for taking on a challenge. This is a big challenge for me, and it's not because he's up against Superman. This is a challenging role to make him stand out. He's just coming. Well, like, who wants to play this character after the Christopher Nolan movies?
Well, exactly.
I mean,
it'd be like taking on the next.
He's got balls of fucking steel. I mean, like, so.
The next person to play Joker, for instance.
It's almost like no one can ever do that anymore. I mean, well, it's going to be Jared Leto. But then
he got his work cut out from him, and he
was fucking amazing in Conrad film, blah blah blah. Oh, I've forgotten. Dallas Buyers Club. Like, he was amazing. He's kind of amazing in anything he does. Like, but there you
No, he's a great actor. It's just that's very big shoes to fill in that particular role.
No, totally. Okay, we're going to move on. Game of Thrones is out. I've seen 2 episodes. You've seen 2 episodes. Quickly, without getting into spoiler plots, are we enjoying it? What do you think so far? I mean, I'm finding it to be a fairly slow burn in at the moment.
Well, I didn't like the bit where Varys killed Tyrion, but the rest of it's fine.
Sure.
That's not a spoiler, by the way. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it does.
Or at least if it happens after the first 2 episodes, which are all I've seen.
2 episodes, so we know nothing. No, I mean, there's definitely some interesting stuff. I think they're setting up some scenes at the moment, and there's some interesting stuff going on.
I liked the bits at the wall, like most of Jon Snow's stuff in the previous seasons. I've just thought is very tedious. I don't particularly like him as a character because he's the same do-gooder like Ned Stark was, and like Rob, like just goody two shoes. What's the honorable thing to do? So that's not a particularly interesting character, at least to me. But now, like, it seems like they're going in kind of a new direction there, at least. So I hope they are, and there'll be a bit more gray there than just black and white. Sure. Like all the other characters, it's very much shades of gray, and they have to make very tough choices. Yeah, and Jon Snow is just Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think things like in the first 2 episodes, they just seem to be setting up what's going to come, because I don't think an awful lot in terms of plot has moved forward. Like nothing major has happened. I'm just trying to remember it all. Now, in the interim, 4 episodes of Game of Thrones were leaked prior to the first episode airing. I haven't watched them, obviously. We're watching them as they come out. I mean, one of the things I was told without going into spoilers, because I don't know, I've deliberately, obviously, because...
Yeah, don't spoil nothing for me now.
Yeah, no. Well, I haven't seen them, and I'm not spoiling anything in particular, but, one of the pirates went off and watched this even before episode 1 went on, and so be it. But I think the point you made earlier, to me earlier was, well, the big problem for them is they watched all 4 episodes 4 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, and now they have to wait 4 weeks just to get the 5th episode. And seemingly, from whatever was being watched by them, etc., there's a reason why they might be very frustrated having to wait 4 weeks to find out what happens next. Let's put it that way. So I think we might be building towards a bit of a crescendo in the next couple of episodes. Is all I'll say to you. I don't know what it is. I genuinely, that's as much as I can tell you. But I don't think there's anything spoilerish saying, "Ooh, something might happen very soon that might make you go, what?"
Well, it's Game of Thrones. If something doesn't happen in the next
4 episodes without some shit fucking going down in a serious way. But it's kind of, I'm interested to see which direction it's going. There's actually a lot of moving parts. All I would say with this, not to spoil anything, because you won't know what I mean unless you're up to date. But certainly, what I find at the moment is there's an awful lot of stories. Before, I always used to find that there'd be one episode where it's they'll deal with 2 stories, and then the next episode they deal with 2 other stories. Seems to me there's a lot of kind of everything being clutched into 1 episode each time, that kind of way. Although there's certain people that we haven't seen yet. So for instance, and it's not much of a spoiler, is the young Stark, the young Stark.
Well, he's like Bran and Rickon. Yeah. From what I understand, this isn't really a spoiler because they said it before the season even started. Yeah. But they're not in this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard this as well coming into this thing that we won't hear from them again, but it's for a while, and it's kind of that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me because.
Well, it's the way the books are written.
The entire season is 12 episodes-ish, right? And it's kind of that takes up in real time. This is real time, right? So that takes up often weeks or months, of real time having passed by. Not a lot of time goes by. So it's
they're training I guess this is a spoiler if you haven't seen the previous season, but they're trailing with the wizard dude.
Yeah.
So presumably that training takes a while.
Yeah, but I mean,
you don't train in 5 seconds and then you go off and fight whatever they're going to fight.
No, I understand that, but presumably, I would have thought we would encountered them, you know.
But I think it's just down to, so they've got a bunch of new characters now they have to introduce. Because from what I understand, the book that this is based on then, or maybe it was the previous book, didn't even have the main characters from the first 3 books. Like George R. R. Martin just said, okay, now here's a bunch of more characters. And they do important things, which means that then they have to have more people included. So they're getting less and less time per character. Which I guess it hasn't been that much of a problem so far, at least this season. Last season it was a bit of a problem. Like last season they had a lot of episodes where it was just, here's 30 seconds of Tyrion and then that's it for the episode, and here's 30 seconds of Arya and that's it for the episode, and that was kind of disappointing. But I mean, it's telling that Game of Thrones is the only TV show where I watch it and the end credits roll and I go, wait, what? It's an hour already? What the hell?
Yeah.
It's just over in a flash.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm trying to think back to the 2 episodes I've watched. I'm kind of like going, what really happened? I mean, like, there's a lot
I can tell you, but like, then I'd just be spoiling it for anyone who's watching.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is I don't think in terms of a general plot, people moved around the chessboard, but I'm not sure if anything significant has really moved forward one way or the other.
Oh, well, I would say
except for the wall, which is going to be a significant thing going forward, I think. You know, so we'll see.
Well, but that's still not. See, we're getting into spoilers now if we discuss it. So I reckon if we're not going to get into spoilers, we should do an episode, maybe when the end of the season, where we just spoil everything.
Absolutely.
Just talk about everything in it.
Yeah, no, totally. And to be honest as well, I mean, it's something where you'd need to come in with a little bit of preparation, and because, you know, to remember everything, to remember everyone's names, it's hard enough in that show. But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm wondering what's going to happen in the next episode, and I want to see more Tyrion. We'll see how he gets on. Hopefully he won't get killed like he predicts. Okay, we're going to move on to something else very briefly, because I know we want to kind of not make these podcasts go on for too long. Just going to ask you about a few things. Just on back to trailers again. Mad Max, new movie coming out. A few more trailers have hit about that, not necessarily in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we grew up at a time when we would have watched the Mel Gibson movies. Are you looking forward to this? The trailers are kind of cool. I have to say that, you know, obviously starring Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult, about a boy kid, and
like they've been discussing the
thing, which looks amazing as well. Sort of, I think it's some sort of. So I think it's going to come out in around the same time as the movie. The movie itself, the trailers look pretty awesome. What are you thinking? Is this the movie that you want to see this year?
So the first teaser trailer looked appalling. I think we discussed it before, and then the second trailer looked really good. And I went, okay, well then I'll watch it. The first 3 movies are great, though at least the second and the third. I haven't rewatched the first one for ages because I remember thinking at the time, oh, it's okay, and then everyone going on and on about 2 and 3. So I watched 2 and 3 and thought they were amazing. They're very, there's quite. Oh, don't start playing the trailer. That always ruins the sound.
I fixed it by mistake.
They're very expansive when you watch them. Like if you see number 2 and 3, there's a lot that happens in the movies. Like they're not all that long. Like I don't know how long each one of them is, but like there's so much that happens in them that I wonder if this new movie is going to be the same, or if it's going to be a straight action movie with just the name in common.
Yeah, I mean, here's the real question: are we going to get Tina Turner's song in the movie? Right.
Thunderdome.
I mean, joking aside, I think my big concern would be not so much because I mean, I obviously remember those movies, but not the plot in particular. So, like, if I rewatch them, it would probably come back to me. But for the life of me, and probably if I rewatched the new movie, if it followed exactly, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay. But I think I want them to do something different and just set in the same world. You know, like I don't mind if they're similar named characters and like, you know, obviously there's the car, and I think they've got the same car, the Magnum Opus, and I think that's what was called Magnum Opus.
It's Mad Max is like Conan.
Yeah,
like the Conan the Barbarian. Like he starts the story, he's a barbarian, then he goes through a bunch of action things to save a princess or whatever, and then ends up basically at the same point he started at the start of the movie. He's a barbarian with, just wants to get a load of gold and goes from place to place. And Mad Max was kind of the same apart from the first movie. The first movie, obviously, the apocalypse happens, so he's gone from being a cop to being a post-apocalyptic road warrior. But in the second movie, if you don't remember, he's looking for gasoline, and he finds this big place with walls all around it, where they have an oil drill, and they're drilling for gasoline, and they're surrounded by bad guys who are trying to get in to get the gasoline themselves. And Max breaks in and then says he'll trade his services for some gasoline. That's the first one. Then the second one is like there's no gasoline anymore.
Yeah, okay, so it's a film about gas. And when was the last time you watched the originals?
I watched the second one with Matthew, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time since I've watched any of those movies, but I remember watching them at the time. I mean, they were big at the time. At a time when
I didn't even see them at the time. I saw them years later. Because I remember Mad Max 1 I saw on television. It was like, for a series like that to be on Irish television on RTE, it had to have been out for like a decade from before. And they showed 1, 2, and 3, I think, after each other, either weeks apart or a day apart or something.
What it really was down to was when Mel Gibson, hit the kind of international fame, with Lethal Weapon and stuff like that, and then 2 and 3, which obviously were hugely popular, and he was, one of the big stars in around that time in the 80s. Then they kind of went, oh, he also did this Mad Max thing, and it's like, oh, right, bum, bum, bum. Now, I'm not even sure if I'm right about that in terms of timing. Like, it may have been that...
I think Thunderdome was probably out filmed after...
Thunderdome, probably. Well, Mad Max is 1979, right? Which is interesting. I would not have thought it was, whatever, but...
and it was made for buttons.
The weapon is 82 or something like that, right? So Mad Max... Was Thunderdome...
Mad Max, the first one was made for... Yeah, Mad Max 2 was 81, and then Thunderdome was 85.
Exactly. 81.
I don't know. Lethal Weapon was 87, so it was after.
Is it?
Yeah, Lethal Weapon's 87.
Wow, that's very cool. So really, he had made his name with sort of culty kind of Australian, movie. It wasn't culty at the time.
Well, I mean, he'd been in lots of stuff. Like before he was in Lethal Weapon, he was in what was that one that was in some African nation where he was a reporter, like a photojournalist or something. Look it up now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. I'm not sure.
Dangerously. He was in Gallipoli, obviously.
Tequila Sunrise, 7. Mad Max was 85. Thunderdome obviously transported him into Lethal Weapon, right?
Yeah, and once he was in Lethal Weapon.
The Bounty, yes, he was in The Bounty, obviously, with Anthony Hopkins. The Year of Living Dangerously, yes, but again, these are not big. You kind of look at it and you go, in truth, in like international terms, the Sullivans. Do you remember watching the Sullivans growing up? Mad Max was his big breakout. 79. 80.
But it was like Mad Max was made for $100,000 or something.
Yeah, and
so
I presume it was a niche
being a breakout. Huh?
I'd say it was a niche Australian kind of thing first. You know what I mean?
It was dubbed into American.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It was dubbed into American, and then that's what RTE showed. So I saw the first movie with really bad American dubbing on it, because with all due deference to dub actors, they aren't quite as good as the live action actors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's Australian. It's not like, we understand the language they are speaking. We don't need it dubbed. Anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I hope they didn't screw up. Like Tom Hardy's, I mean, Warrior, again, for anyone who's listening or watching, Warrior, totally underrated movie. Great movie. Go watch it. He's fantastic in it.
And Bane, of course.
Yeah, obviously he's Bane as well. But I mean, Warrior is a particularly special movie. He himself, Nick Nolte's in it as well. It's great. That guy who also plays Uncle Ben or Uncle Owen in whatever. I'm trying to think. The other Australian actor who often gets forgotten, although I think he's very good. He was obviously in Joel Edgerton. He's been in a lot of things. Obviously, Zero Dark 30, a lot of stuff. Good actor, somebody to watch. Very good in Warrior. Brilliant in Warrior, actually. Even better than Tom Hardy. But Tom Hardy's cool. So we'll see. Okay, we're going to talk about. Oh yeah, a couple of shout outs. You showed me this Catching Fire song, but really it's a YouTube site called Bad Lip Reading, and Simon showed it to me. So anyone listening or watching, definitely Bad Lip Reading. They did this fantastic Catching Fire song. That's that's Simon's tip of the week in terms of interesting and cool people to subscribe to on YouTube. I think I've already talked about what's maybe upcoming next on Netflix. I'm predicting, although I don't have an official announcement for Europe, but certainly in America, if anyone's listening in America, Netflix is going to get you Grace and Frankie on the 8th of May. So that's the next 2 weekends away or something like that.
Well, if they don't start,
they will do it.
We only just got Peaky Blinders, the Cillian Murphy.
Right. I mean, Oblivion came in Europe this week as well, that Tom Cruise movie, which I haven't seen, funnily enough.
We got Edge of Tomorrow, actually, last weekend, which I saw in the cinema, but I saw it in the cinema in 3D.
It's funny, Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow, I don't know why, because they kind of came out within 12 months of each other.
Yeah, a couple of months of each other, yeah.
They're like, oh, it's the same film, but it's not. But the weird thing is I haven't seen either of them, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Edge of Tomorrow is way better than Oblivion. Oblivion is very...
Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever, is actually fucking A, and was totally fucking... totally passed over. I can't remember what was going on at the time in the cinema. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. If it's on yours, it'll be on ours soon, I think. So
maybe we've gotten lucky. I mean, I was talking to someone from Denmark on Google Plus, and we have the American season 2, and she only has American season 1. And Denmark and Norway are not a million miles away from each other, so for them to have different content is weird.
Well, just on that, because we're going to finish up soon, but I know you did a video yourself on a review of season 2 of The Americans. Yeah. Yep. So you can find that on YouTube for anyone listening. At Simon Canton is your YouTube channel. Is that right?
Either that or S Canton. Hang on, I'll look.
Yeah. And just while you're looking there, you could give us. Yeah. Sorry, what is it?
It's just Simon Canton.
Simon Canton.
It's linked to my Google Plus, so anyone can find me on Google Plus under Simon Canton. And then
I haven't watched your video review. I have seen season 2 of The Americans, and without going into spoilers, are you still enjoying the show? Obviously, you've watched season 1. You're watching season 2. You still enjoying the show? Has it taken its slight turn, or it's as you expected? What were you of your review?
So, I mean, the short version, without spoiling anything, is that the ending wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
The season itself was very enjoyable, and then the ending, I didn't particularly enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't great. It wasn't up to the same level as the rest of the show, and it certainly wasn't up to the level of season 1. The ending, now I'm saying, but the rest of the season was really good. So it was just a bit of a misstep for me. But it won't stop me watching season 3 when that comes out.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I'm watching season 3 at the moment. Yeah, still like that show. It's not for everybody, but those people who like it, are just like, I'm just not going to give up on this family. I want to see where they're going to go, and definitely interesting. Okay, a few shout outs. I know, Simon, you've got a few podcasts or video diaries on YouTube, same channel. You've been doing Green Star. You've been doing a lot of launching for that. You've got a book coming out.
Yeah, there's a book coming out on the 1st of May called Green Star Season 2.
And where can you get all of that if you want to purchase or read or whatever?
So if you go to any bookstore, online bookstore, so Apple iBooks isn't up yet. Apple, Smashwords, loads of different stuff. You can find out on my website, simoncanton.com.
Okay, we'll go there and check that out.
Just to say a little bit about it, Green Star is Josie Stein's a space engineer, and she's frozen in space and wakes up 1,000 years in the future on this ship called the Green Star. And whilst she was frozen, her son became a famous author and wrote books about her, saying she was this amazing space hero who, you know, battled aliens and saved the Earth and everything. And the people in the future think that it's not fiction; it's real. So they make her captain of this spaceship. So it's a comedy. It's a science fiction comedy.
It sounds cool. Yeah, it sounds really kind of cool. I must try and learn to read that. Okay, we're gonna last thing to do just before we sign off. I'm gonna shout out to some podcasts. Never really done this before. I know I've been listening to an awful lot of sort of cool stuff from other like creators out there, and you know, I'm going to give some very obvious ones. Maybe as the weeks go by, we might think of something that, you know, is a little less obvious. I'm a massive fan of the Giant Bombcast. Great show if you like. And for you, Simon, I don't know if you ever listen to it. It's obviously, look, it's a free podcast, like all of them are. You can, you know, it's run by Giant Bomb, Jeff Gerstmann. They do a 3-hour podcast. It kind of gets posted every Tuesday or Wednesday every week. I mean, it's Tuesday, but it's usually late on Tuesday here. It's great. It's about video games, but really, like the episode I started today, they start off and they're literally live, like it's a live podcast. It gets edited later, but they start off and they're going, "We're watching a car chase at the moment," and you know, blah blah blah. And they're describing this car chase, which is clearly going on like in front of them on TV. You can't hear it, but they're like, "Yeah, it's a black BMW chasing around thing," and they're like, and somebody says, "Oh, by the time you listen to this, you'll have found out actually what happens in this car chase, whatever." And then Jeff Gerstmann comes in and says, "Well, maybe not. This car's got a lot of gas. It's been going from blah, 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 blah. It might still be going, blah, blah, you know, this sort of thing." So they talk about wrestling. They talk about whatever. They try and be funny. You know, some of it, it's not scripted, but, you know, it is scripted, but it's not scripted, that kind of way, you know. So I'm sure they think about what they're going to talk about. Always entertaining, always current in terms of, you know, they're talking about Fast and Furious, talking about the games going on, doing reviews, whatever, but just very much a conversational podcast. Very, very cool. That's definitely one of my must listen to every week. Rebel FM is another games podcast, very, very good. And then just something completely different. I came across this Toku podcast, which is very, very surreal. A couple of people on that from some of the Xbox team, you know, doing something interesting, and it's not just about games. It's just something a bit weird and different, and you might check that out as well. What about you? What do you listen to podcast-wise or anything like that?
Yeah, so the ones I was going to mention, the first one is the To Be Read podcast. They're on YouTube under TBR Podcast, I think.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah.
So what they do is they're all avid readers, and they read several books a week. And then they talk about those books and say which ones they recommend, which ones they don't recommend. It's pretty much like our show is for TV and movies and stuff. They do for books, and they you know, go over, like, they have a different topic each week, and they go over which books they like in that genre or under that topic or whatever. That's quite fun.
Cool.
And then I have to mention my brother's podcast, Trivial Cahoots. So my brother is a playwright. So he knows a lot of actors and directors and writers and stuff. So he and his co-host on the podcast, they invite an actor, a director, or writer onto the show, and then they take a Trivial Pursuits card, and they go down the questions on the Trivial Pursuits card, and they just talk about whatever that subject is. So if the question is, what's the capital of Brazil? They say, oh, have you ever been to Brazil? What do you like about Brazil? Have you seen the movie Brazil? All that kind of stuff, and just use it as a way to interview someone.
That's cool. Is that video and audio, or is it just audio? Or
just audio? Yeah, it's also on the radio though in Ireland on Radio Made.
Oh, fantastic! On which radio station?
Radio Made. I think it's a digital one. RadioMade.ie.
Yeah.
And the last one I was going to mention, which it's maybe a niche thing, is there's a thing called Acquisitions Incorporated. So Acquisitions Incorporated is the guys from Penny Arcade. I don't know if you've read Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
The guys from Penny Arcade and the guy from PvP, the website PvP. And Will Wheaton in some of them and some other people in other ones.
Right.
And they play Dungeons and Dragons on stage in front of 2,000 people.
Are these on videos on YouTube, are they?
Yeah, videos on YouTube. They're like an hour and something long.
Yeah.
And they're very entertaining. Like you would think that seeing 4 guys playing, or 5 guys, I guess, with the Dungeon Master, playing Dungeons and Dragons on stage would be the most tedious thing you can imagine. But they're all so funny and they're so like on their game the whole time and like coming up with witty things to say. It's very entertaining.
So I presume it's a bit like Giant Bomb in that it's live and it's spontaneous, but at the same time, they're professionals. So they've thought about how they might craft jokes into certain things or in certain situations. Is that right?
Well, I mean, they don't know what's coming up.
No,
but they're all like nerds
and funny.
So that's nerd humor. Like it's you remember the whatever from Star Trek or whatever. So they mention things and then you hear the entire crowd go wild. And if you're not a nerd, like I'm a super nerd, I guess, so I got not all the references, but most of the references, and thought they were quite funny.
Well,
but if you're not, you might not like it that much. But like if you are, you probably enjoy it very much.
For instance, Dungeons & Dragons, all those sort of things, those kind of card games or paper and pen games from way back when, I never was able to get into because I was like, well, I don't play them, and if I do, it's once in a blue moon, so I forgot the rules the next time I play it, or it's intimidating, or it's boring, or it's too many rules. But it's funny. It's a bit like, I have seen those on YouTube, and I was like, God, I really should spend some time and watch this because it looks like it could be entertaining. You know, it almost seemed to me like there was enough entertainment and humor. Not that it's scripted, but it's just that these are funny people. They understand the game. They can present it properly, even live off the cuff, right? A bit like people who are good at podcasts live off the cuff. But it's a bit like that episode of Community. I don't know if you've ever watched Community, where they do the Dungeons and Dragons, at least for the first time they do it. And it's like, if all games of Dungeons and Dragons were like this, everyone would play it, because it's just cool. Like, everything's scripted in a way, everything's funny and explained in a way, and it all has a comeback or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like the Acquisitions Incorporated, their Dungeon Master is the head of Dungeons and Dragons creative team, so he's amazing at doing the Dungeon Master stuff.
They've almost planned it out to, almost for the individuals, in a way, with the randomness of it, but like, with kind of ideas in mind. Yeah, I must check that out. I must look at that again. I've definitely seen bits of that on streaming on Twitch or on the YouTube channel, definitely with Will Wheaton. I mean, him and Felicia Day do a lot of stuff together on YouTube, and
yeah, that's what he kind of moved on to after. Like, he left the Acquisitions Incorporated thing after, I don't know, a couple of years of it, and then moved on to doing tabletop games and stuff.
Yeah. I've seen him do the tabletop games for sure, definitely. And it's not for everybody, but I mean, like, it's like everything. It's like there's so much content out there on YouTube now. Before they kill off the internet, which is coming, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, regulation is coming, and go and enjoy all the stuff while you still can. And on that note, we should end this podcast. We'll see you again next week. Simon, we can catch you on simoncantor.com. Check out Simon's book, which is releasing on the 1st of May, and at all the various websites we've mentioned. As Simon said, a lot of online books. You can get bookstores. You're going to be able to get the Green Star Season 2 there as well. Get me on Bad Barrister on Twitter if you want to be on this podcast, this crazy podcast, or ask questions. Ask us questions. We'll answer them on the next podcast if you're even listening to this podcast. Just tweet us at Bad Barrister or S Canton. Is that right?
Yeah, S Canton.
Grant. So we'll see you next week, and we're out. Okay, bye.